Okay, it's my pleasure to welcome in Michael to the pod. Michael, I just want to ask you about the specialists because I know when you were a freshman, Tyler Newsome had the whole cheese thing. Is like, do you have like a certain thing for your specialist team that you call them, or a certain standard that you guys say like this is our, I don't know, motto, or what's your thing?
Right. So now we have what's called Brotherhood. And so we are one brotherhood. We have to do everything for each other. We got to fight as hard as we can, because we all operate on a chain link. If one of the chain doesn't, like if it breaks, then the whole thing doesn't work. So, we all got to be on the same level. So we call ourselves Brotherhood because we really take that to heart. You have to do everything that you can for your brother.
Does every person have like a different nickname, like younger brother, middle brother, older brother? Like how does that work?
No, the nicknames kind of ended with Newsom. So now like I think I'm the last one that has a nickname of Milk. But everyone else is kind of like we'll call Andrew Cross Android because he has an Android phone. He's the only one in the locker room that has an Android, so we call him Android. Yeah. So or Reno Monteforte, we'll call him like Rhino or some other fun nicknames. So,
But it's not necessarily specialist related. It's more just
right. It's more generic nicknames.
okay, cool. I'm very curious to hear your perspective. You've been playing this position for a long time, and you've reached a very elite level at it. How would you, at this stage in your career, define the long snapping position?
It's a good question. It's a very vital role. It's one that goes unnoticed because a great example of that was this past weekend with I think 6 game winning kicks. Those don't happen without the snap from the long snappers. So it's a very important hopefully unnoticed role that we're in. We have to do a really good job of getting the ball to the punter on punts and the holder on field goals. And punt is actually the most important play in football because it's the only play in football where the field position changes that much. So that is such a vital key to winning a football game is the battle of field position. So if you have a really good punt operation and punt, you can really impact and change the game.
As a reporter, I think the best reporters are the invisible reporters, and I'm hearing from your voice and the way that you're talking about it, it's the same thing. You take pride in being invisible. It's like if we don't mess up, it's a great punt, right? If we mess up, if people know who I am, it's like might be something going on.
Absolutely.
Okay, so how do you think about how do I say this? When I think about the highest scoring people in Notre Dame history, people might think, oh, maybe like a receiver or maybe a quarterback or something. But I mean, names like Reggie Hoke come to mind, right? I mean, it's like kickers. So you're kind of like the assist man to that. You're kind of like a point guard. I guess. How do you think about that relationship to your kicker?
Yeah. So for me, kind of like what you said, like we're the assisters. We're the guys that make sure that he can do his job. So for me, I take great pride because I want all of the guys in our room to be successful, and I want to put our holder in the best position to catch the ball and just place it down without having to spin the ball. And I want our kicker to be the most successful. In order for him to be successful, our holder has to be successful. And for those two guys to really be successful is I have to give them a chance to do their job. So for me, how I see my role is I have to put our guys in the best position possible. So it's not about me being like, oh, like look at my snap, look how good it was. It's like, all right, was it good enough to do their job and execute? And can you do it over and over and over again? So that's how I look at my job. I don't think of it like, oh, I'm gonna go have 5 tackles this game because that's just not realistic. Like I want to put my guys in the best position possible for them to go execute so we can go help this team go win on Saturdays.
So let me ask you about the NFL. I know it's your goal to go there. It's interesting because it's like probably one of the only jobs I can think of, in addition to being maybe like a play-by-play announcer for a team in the NBA or NFL, where there's only like 32 jobs, period, like in the world, and they normally are held for 10 to 15 years. So it doesn't really matter how good you are at a certain point. It's also just timing. How do you think about like navigating that timing?
Right. So for me, being at Notre Dame, it's been a blessing because I've had such a great education. I have 2 degrees from Notre Dame. So if that timing doesn't work out, it's always nice I can fall back on those 2 degrees from Notre Dame. But in a sense of like how it's going to look next year, you never know how it's going to look. Guys could retire, they could stay on for 3 more years, guys get cut. You never really know. So it's so important to just stay in the moment, and where you are right now. Like right now, I'm focused on beating Wake Forest one last time in Notre Dame Stadium for us, and then just focus on one day at a time, 1 week at a time, one practice at a time.
So it is senior day. I know you've been there for 6 years. So,
Long time.
yeah. So what is this senior day? What's it going to look like for you and your family?
This one's definitely going to be the most emotional for sure. The first one was kind of like a practice run. I thought I would only be here for 5 years. So, but then approaching senior day, I made the decision to come back for 6th year. So it was another practice run. But then this one's gonna be really special. I'm gonna have my fiance here. She went to Notre Dame. Her family's gonna come to the game. So it's gonna be a really emotional time. Spending 6 years at a place like Notre Dame. It's unbelievable. I wish it didn't have to come to an end, but all things have to come to an end in order to make that next leap in your life.
How do you flip the switch from, hugging mom and get the little, you get the jersey, you give her the flowers, and then it's just like, okay, time, maybe a tear shed, time to play football and hit somebody.
Right.
How do you do that
Yeah.
so quickly?
Yeah, it's difficult, but for me, I treat it like a practice essentially. We're big proponents, and Coach Freeman's a big proponent of one play, one life. So you do one thing and then it's over, on to the next thing. So for me, that's what I'm going to do mentally. I'm going to hug my mom, hug my dad, maybe shed a tear or two just because it's going to be so emotional. But then as soon as that's over, it's game time. Like, we got to go. As soon as we hear that lady sing our song, it's time to go. It's time to go to work and, locking in for those 3.5 hours and then celebrate after.
What has Coach Biaggi taught you about this position?
He's taught me a lot. He was a specialist in college, so it's really helped having another mindset. And then our special teams analyst, Coach Jesse Schmidt, he was a long snapper in college and bounced around the NFL for a little bit. So being able to bounce ideas off of them, from the mental side, from the physical side, what do I need to do in order to be at the elite level? And, to have those two coaches in our room is just an unbelievable experience and something I will not take for granted because those guys are just filled with knowledge.
I mean, you too, like I said, you've been there for a long time. How do you think about charting the path? And in what way would you chart the path from, walk on? What did I need to do to get the scholarship? What do I need to do to get the starter? What do I need to do from the starter to become second team, preseason All-America? And then how to make the next step? Can you just kind of, if you can, like put it into like a little, how you thought about it?
Yeah. So, when I came here in 2018, I knew I would be sitting behind John Shannon for 2 years because he was the starter and an unbelievable long snapper. He won the first ever Patrick Manley Award in 2019. So just learning from him and asking him questions, the intricacies of the position and how to deal with it mentally, because when you're playing in front of 80,000 people, that's a lot different than playing in front of 1,000 people in high school. And then plus the millions at home on TV. So really, trying to dial in on the mental side. And then when it came to be my time, it definitely had some ebbs and flows. The first game, super nervous. Luckily, it was during COVID, though, so there wasn't that many people in the stands. But just having a mindset that, like, you've earned it, enjoy it, have fun. And my dad told me when, there was some up and downs in my career, never let anyone decide what your path is. Like, only you can decide what your path is. And then our quarterback, Sam Hartman, we had our senior talks. He talked about the man in the glass. And I think that also really resonates is the only person that can stop you is you. You're always competing with the man in the glass. That's the guy who's going to stop you from doing what you want to do. So, from going from walk-on to scholarship to start or walk-on starter scholarship, All-American, I think just having that mentality of like, I'm my biggest competition, especially mentally, it's a really challenging position because there is so much pressure on you to be perfect, but you can't let that get in the way. If you go out there, you have fun, you have a smile on your face, you take in the moment, you enjoy it with all your brothers out there, then it's fun. Just trying to make it fun takes the pressure off. And at the end of the day, it's just football.
it's just football.
As crazy as that sounds, at the end of the day, it's just football. We're all going to do unbelievable things outside of football because of a place like Notre Dame. We're going to have business leaders, politicians, people who are going to change the world. And so when you really think about it, it's just a game. So having that mindset kind of brings down the pressure a little bit, and that can actually elevate your performances when you take that pressure off.
Yeah, you have 2 degrees from Notre Dame. We talked about maybe waiting in the NFL, trying to find that right time. But let's just say, the game ends for everybody. What do you want to do long term after the game finishes?
I was a real estate minor, my undergrad, and I took a lot of really cool real estate classes. So I'm hoping to get into the real estate development side. I think that it's really cool. I've taken a bunch of classes with developers and people who work in the finance side of real estate, and it's just really cool. And I took a class with a professor who built a building on the Chicago River, and so how
Wow.
cool is that? You're just driving around. It's like, yeah, I built that. Like that's my building. Like I helped build that building. Like that would just be awesome.
Yeah, bring something home to Winnetka. Say to
Yeah.
everyone, I made this building.
You guys see that? Yeah, I built that
Yeah,
with these
what
two
kind of
hands.
But yeah, but it's interesting because when I think about great buildings, like I went to the Driehaus Museum in Chicago, and I thought, wow, I didn't know about the Gilded Age of Chicago. I never read that. I was too busy thinking about maybe like the Burj Khalifa, what's going on, in the Gulf, and all these crazy new skyscrapers and cities being built out of nowhere. What kind of buildings would you want to build? If that would endure. Or what kind of stuff are you interested in?
I'm interested in the residential side of real estate. It's real estate's a very competitive market, and I'm a very competitive person. I've been here for 6 years for a reason, because I love to compete, and so I think I'd be a real asset in a really competitively driven industry, because I love to compete. I love to win. One of our standards in the golden standard is refuse to lose, which is competitive spirit is refuse to lose, and I hate losing more than I like to win. So just keeping that fire. If I'm not in football, eventually, kind of like you said, it will end. So keeping something that gets me competitively going, I think I would really enjoy.
It's funny. There's a great interview with Tim Duncan. I don't know if you're a Spurs fan or a basketball fan, but that's what he said. He's like, I think, someone asked him, how do you be great or something like that. I'm butchering it, but he said, I think one of the big keys is hating to lose. Everyone says focusing on winning, but I think hating to lose is a seriously underrated thing. Who taught you how to hate? Have you always had that?
So a little bit, my sister, my twin sister and I, we always competed in sports, whether it was basketball in the yard. Like, she was a really good athlete, so just always competing with her. And then, when I watched Moneyball for the first time, and Billy Beane is talking to his players and said, I hate losing. I hate losing more than I want to win. And there's a difference, or whatever the quote was. I was like, wow, that really resonated with me, because winning's fun, but there's nothing like the pit in your stomach when you lose and you should have won. Like, it just eats at you, and you just hate it, and you just want to get back to work. So just having that kind of mindset, I was like, wow, it's pretty good.
My last question for you, Michael, we could talk all day, but I want to know about this Indy 500, because in my line of work, sports, literally you can ask anybody. They work the biggest Super Bowls, Olympics. I say top 4, top 5 greatest sporting events in the world. Indy 500 is always on the list. How was your experience there?
It was awesome. It was really, really cool. I got to do a lap around the track. I went to the rookie luncheon. The great people at the American Dairy Association of Indiana, they took really good care of me and my mom. My mom, she grew up racing cars with her dad. She was a big race fan, and they used to go to the Indy 500 all the time. So for me to go with her and have that really cool experience was one of the cooler moments that we've had together. It was just me and her in the grandstands. We were watching the practice, and we got to toast all the rookie drivers with a champagne glass of milk. We got to meet the rookie drivers. Like, it was a really cool experience.
Wow, milk toasting with milk with mom. This is just like, you couldn't write a better story. We're going to end it with that, Michael. I can't wait. I hope that you enjoy senior day with mom, with the family, with the fiance, and I hope you get that win. We'll be rooting for you, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking with you and meeting with you.